Today, Lewis Hamilton has left Mercedes and went straight to Ferrari. This team right here, right here, right here. This is probably the most shocking announcement this decade, even more than Alonso leaving Alpine to Aston Martin, because this is a crazy maneuver because Lewis Hamilton has been with Mercedes for 11 years and been with a Mercedes Works team for 17 years. Think that's nearly 1/5 of your life, and he just said like, nah, bye. There's a couple of points I want to talk about in us analyzing how this happened. Let's start by talking about what contract he has. According to rumors, Lewis Hamilton has signed a 2+1 deal, which means 2 years guaranteed for the 2025 and 2026 season, plus 1 season to extend if both parties agree to extend. So that's the kind of contract she probably signed. Now, why did this happen? There's so many reasons. I've been up on Twitter listening to people talk about this for the whole day. Like, I was in school and I was in university and I was reading Twitter. Probably not the best idea, but this is a once in a generation thing that has happened. So we need to discuss why it's happened. There are 4 reasons why I think Lewis chose not to continue on with Mercedes and chose Ferrari. And at least one of them has got to be the case. First reason is everyone's a Ferrari fan. Even if they say they're not a Ferrari fan, everyone's a Ferrari fan. That's what Seb Vettel said. And that potentially could be the case of why this is happening. One, Lewis Hamilton has always said he liked Ferrari. He said in like 2021, he said a few years ago that if I was not racing, I would be a Ferrari fan and I would be cheering for Charles. Well, he's teammates with Charles now, but that's what he said. And it's come out now that in a recent interview in the 2021, he said that he was sad that he could not race for Ferrari. But then no one saw it because Mercedes asked the editor to like cut it out. So, but he's always talked highly about Ferrari, and this is probably he always wanted to drive for Ferrari at some point in his life, even though Mercedes is this family. And also that Ayrton Senna, before he died, it was most likely he was going to move to Ferrari. If Senna did not pass away in his untimely crash, he would have been the one to go to Ferrari instead of Michael Schumacher. So this could be. We know Hamilton loves Senna and did everything. He even got an honorary passport in Brazil. That's how much Lewis Hamilton loves Senna. So, I mean, this could be even more of a dedication that he wants to continue on at Senna's legacy and win a title in Ferrari and maybe dedicate it to Senna. Or I don't know. But that could be why he joined Ferrari. He sees that this is his last years. This is probably his last contract. He's 39 years old. Not everyone's an Alonso. Like Seb retired at 36. Not everyone can still drive to 50, which is what Alonso might even do. I don't even know at this point when Alonso would want to call it quits. But this is potentially Lewis Hamilton's last contract to ever sign. And he probably wants to end it in Scarlet Red. In Scarlet Red. In the Scuderia Ferrari, doesn't it? Everyone wants, like I said, everyone wants to at some point. I'm sure Max in the back of his head is like, maybe I could win with Ferrari. So, and like he said, he likes Ferrari. He's even bought a Ferrari, Max. Everyone wants to be in Ferrari, no matter what they say, no matter how bad Ferrari messes up. Ferrari will always have that allure, because you win one championship with Ferrari. Like, I think if Lewis wins one championship with Ferrari, that will probably mean more than like at least like 3 of his other world titles. I'm just saying it will mean so much to win it with Ferrari, and honestly, it would probably make him the GOAT. Right now, I still consider Michael Schumacher to be the GOAT just because of how crazy, how he built the team from ground up, how dominant he was in 2000 to 2004, and like how even with the slower cars, he was able to win a lot. Like there's a stat that he was in second and first like over 50% of the time he finished second or first. And he won so much in 1996 to 1999 when Ferrari wasn't at the top and didn't have the best car, and he still was winning, even when they were trash. So I will regard him as a GOAT. And he moved from one team to another team to win a championship, and that's why I'll always regard him as a GOAT. But if Lewis Hamilton goes from McLaren, got his world championship there, went to Mercedes, got another world championship there, but then went to Ferrari, who's not right now currently not has the fastest car, and may have the fastest car in 2026, but not really sure. But will also, at 40 years old, have to fight against a young Charles Leclerc, who's a generational talent, and also Max Verstappen, who may not have the dominant car in 2026, but it's still Max Verstappen, and if he wins, then yes, it's undeniable. It's undeniable at that point that Lewis Hamilton is the GOAT. I will admit it. I think everyone will admit it. That's what it has to, that will seal the deal. That he will be the GOAT. But until then, I'm just saying, Michael Schumacher is still the GOAT. Lewis Hamilton's great, no doubt, but Michael Schumacher is the GOAT. Till then, let me know if you agree. Now, the second reason why this could have happened was because, like Alonso, Lewis Hamilton just wants to race, and he just wants to keep on racing. He probably took it really bad when all Mercedes was offering was 1+1 contract. So he's like, I want to keep, I've driven from you for so long, Mercedes. I've given you 6 world titles and many wins, and you only give me 1+1 contract, the same amount as the guy I beat very badly 2 years. I know George Russell beat him on points in 2022, but in 2022 Lewis had to recover from 2021 ordeal, which 2021 in my opinion was Max's championship. So it took him a while to get over that. And some people say that they also made Lewis's car the experimental car, where they were putting all sorts of upgrades to test out which works and which doesn't. And so that also affected this car and made it slower or something. I don't know if that's true or not. That could just be rumors that people are saying to to explain why Lewis was lower than George in first 1/3 of the season. But after the first 1/3, or maybe even one half, Lewis was way better than Russell. He just trounced Russell after that. And then we all know what happened in 2023, where Russell was absolutely nowhere. Not even that Lewis was better. It's just Russell just went off the cliff. Anyway, aside from that, for Mercedes to give him the same contract as Russell, it seems that they're gearing towards Russell, giving him maybe more preferential treatment. Lewis has spoken about him giving advice to Mercedes engineers and not getting any, and them rejecting all his advice. And potentially that could be because they're more leaning towards George's driving style, and they're trying to help George instead of listening to Lewis. Or it could be that they have their own vision and they don't want to listen to their driver. Either way, I would see how it would be so easy to lose confidence in the team that Lewis had lost confidence in Mercedes, if that's the case. If that is the case, then Lewis had a problem with the contract that he was given by Mercedes. And I totally get it. Like, this is what we had with Leclerc at the end of 2022. Leclerc has said how he would give feedback to the engineers, and they would completely reject his ideas, which we later turned out to be idiotic because they went against Leclerc's ideas of being oversteer car, which we know works, and they made it a freaking understeer car. And it was in 2023 we saw that Ferrari was slow. It was a really bad car. It was either too good. It was either good or like trash. So that Ferrari went from having like a semi decent car being the second best car to having a car that was so unpredictable that on one weekend it's the second best and the other weekend it's like the fifth best. But now with Visser in the way, that's no longer the case. And you can see that things are improving with Charles's feedback being with them listening to Charles's feedback, and that's how we got since Japan. Ferrari was a fast car. They may not have gotten the strategies or the car floor right in US, which got them disqualified, or the hydraulics failing in Brazil. We got the Las Vegas race, which I'm pretty sure was the first time that anyone has passed Max on pure pace on the same tire compound. I'll put it up if I'm wrong, or the first one to do that. And it was thanks to them listening to Leclerc and giving him the setup room to be able to set his car in the right way. And then he 9-0 Carlos in qualifying, and he was ahead every race that he finished, except for US, but US he got disqualified, so. And he had a bad strategy that caused him to go down. So he like obliterated Carlos and it became a fast car as a result because it wasn't a performance upgrade. They just gave him a way to set up the car in the right way. That's what the upgrade in Japan did. So it did. So to people saying that they went to Leclerc, no, they did not. Carlos could still set it up the same way that he wanted to. They did not take away anything from Carlos. It's just now Leclerc had the chance to set it up in the way that he wanted. And that's what Leclerc was asking for. And it did not mean that they screwed up Carlos in any way, which is weird because on Twitter I've seen that that's the excuse that Carlos Sainz fans gave, that they went to Leclerc when, like, in no way, shape, or form did they hamper Carlos in making sure that his car is the way he wanted it. In fact, for like most of the season, he even before Japan, he even said himself that I love this car. And yet, even before Japan, even though one of the worst seasons for Leclerc, he still was beating Carlos. And then Japan just straight up surpassed him. So that should no longer be a conversation now that Carlos is out. It should no longer be a conversation, but we'll come back to where Carlos is going later on in this podcast. But we know now with Fred Vasseur that there's more communication and it's more open, and it's not going to be politics and underhandedness that was happening with Benato. It's become a much more it's become much more or less toxic place than it was in under Benato. I don't think Leclerc would have signed a new contract if Benato was still here. He was like utterly destroyed. You saw last season in 22 that like after the last race, he during even after the last race, even before the last race, he was saying, "I'm so happy that this season is over." That he was so happy that season was. He would keep on mentioning that I'm so happy. Let's just finish it on a high, where he ended up P2, he securing his P2 spot. He even though securing his P2 spot, he just wants that season over with. Whereas now, even though he was fifth position, which was much lower than what he was fighting in 2022, he was after the race. He was like, I still want to race. I still want to keep going. He was still motivated and passionate this year because even after all the mess that was in 2023, he still was passionate because he believed and he trusted in the team again. It was two different mindsets that came after Benato left. Now Hamilton is signing to Ferrari and was convinced by Fred Vasseur, who was Lewis Hamilton's team principal when Lewis Hamilton won Formula 3 and Formula 2. Knowing he doesn't trust Fred to be more communicative and trust Fred to give him what he wants. Which is leading back to my point of Mercedes didn't give Lewis the contract he wants, but he trusts Fred Vasseur as he's known him a long time. They still keep in contact. They still have dinners occasionally. They still have a very good connection. So he trusts Fred to give him what he wants, and so that could be the reason why he signed to Ferrari. He also got a longer deal. He got a 2+1 deal, and maybe if it goes really well, they would still keep him on till he wants to retire, Because also, even if Lewis Hamilton doesn't do well, I'm not saying he won't, or Ferrari won't give him the car he wants. It's still a big collaboration as a brand in a brand sense, because Lewis Hamilton has one of the biggest brands in Formula One. There's millions and millions of people following him, millions of people buying his merchandise, his drinks company that he now owns, and he has so many different initiatives that he takes on, and so Lewis Hamilton's brand that would elevate Ferrari, but Ferrari likewise has the biggest brand in Formula One. Like everyone knows Ferrari. Like when a kid draws a car, they'll draw it red. There's some people I've met people who do not know Formula One, but they know Ferrari. Ferrari is a huge brand. Even their clothing brand is very big. The two biggest brands are coming together, and so I would think that even if Lewis Hamilton doesn't do good, Ferrari would still benefit with that partnership, and Lewis Hamilton will still also benefit with that partnership. And with the third and most likely reason for me is that Lewis has lost faith in the Mercedes project. That Mercedes has gone off the rails from being a championship leading team to, I think it's gonna be like 1998 Williams. It's gonna be a mid level team. They won't reclaim the glory that they once had in 2014 to 2020. It's possible that he sat in that car and he also went to the sim and checked out the car. Cars have been done by now, so I would assume Lewis would know what direction the team had went into. This car is not going to be good, and they're not going to improve on in 2025 to 2026. He's lost faith in them making a good car, and I think that's more likely what's happened. Because with Ferrari, most of it's granted, I've been looking more into Ferrari than Mercedes because I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm a Ferrari fan. I'm a Leclerc fan, so I'm looking at Ferrari more. I do see Mercedes news and like what they said last. Mercedes don't really have a clear plan. Where in Ferrari, they know they have a bad car, but they understand the problems of this car, and they've taken steps to get themselves to have a good car. Where Fred Vasseur and like all the leaks and all the credible rumors are saying that they're changing the car in a way so that each update will be better, and they've taken a clear development direction where they understand how it's possible to reach the front and win, and they expect to win in 2024, and then in 2025 they just expect to win some more races until they reach two championship level car. But they have a clear development direction is what Ferrari has. But Mercedes, even in 2023, Toto has admitted that they do not know why their car is bad. They just say that they're gonna replace 90% replace the car again, but they don't know exactly how they're going to get to the front. They have no plan. They're just replacing things to get to the front. Toto said that he didn't know, And you could see even 2022 to 2023 that they don't really have an idea on how to get good. In 2022, they came up with this no side pods thing, and they stuck with it till 2023, and then like a whole year, and then 2023 after to that, what are we doing? Why don't we just? This is stupid. We're not gaining anything by staying with the side pods meta. So they switched it. They brought in side pods and again, but then because of they switched it at that point in time, they reset their development path. It looked like they were just like seeing Red Bull and how good they were, so they're like, maybe we should just copy Red Bull, you know. So they had brought in similar looking side pods as Red Bull, and sure, it is helping them. They became a little bit faster. Like Lewis Hamilton fought for a win in US. There's one lap extra, or Mercedes didn't screw up the strategy in US, Lewis Hamilton would have won the US GP. It felt like they didn't realize why no side pods were a problem. They just gave it up because it was not working out. Because they're so far behind other cars, but they didn't understand why. And then even after they got side pods, they came to Brazil and they had no and again Toto Wolff admitted that they had no idea why they were so slow in the race. Lewis Hamilton got eighth and George Russell retired, and they were slow, and like usually in Ferrari you know why they know why they were slow, because in Britain Ferrari was incredibly slow, and they knew why. It was because it was a very unstable car and it was very windy. It messed it up, or like if it was too hot in some races it would not work as well. It would be slow, or like the point is that they knew why, like they knew the characteristics of the car and why it was bad, and Ferrari has taken steps to make sure that they can fix those problems, because that Binotto has left Ferrari in 2022 with a clear direction that Mercedes has been unable to achieve. Also, Toto has not been able to instill confidence to Lewis Hamilton, because Toto, I'm going to get a lot of people disliking this opinion, but Toto has not been a very good team principal as of lately. Just because he's handsome doesn't mean he's good. He's not giving any proof that things are going to get better from Mercedes. And Lewis Hamilton has been winning for most of his career, and for him to just stop winning and then having no promises that things are going to start getting better and him start winning again, and then their team focusing on another driver who he's been beating still, like even though he's 39, he's still been beating him consistently. He's still not putting any support on Hamilton, I think, is what drove him to believe that this team is going nowhere. And so after, like, he has no faith in Toto, he has no faith in Mercedes, and so before it's too late to even try to get an eighth title, he like anyone in Lewis's position would want the eighth title. You know, he's tied with Michael Schumacher, but you don't want to tie a person. Everyone in Formula One wants to be the best, and to be the best, he would have to break Michael Schumacher's record. And also Michael Schumacher did it first, so you would want to be the first one to be the eighth world title. But like, remember when Michael Schumacher got his sixth world title and became, surpassing Fangio over having the most amount of titles. You want to have the most titles in your hands, and that's what Lewis Hamilton will be thinking, that like, if Mercedes is not giving me what I want, and Red Bull is not going to offer me any seats, I should try and go for Ferrari, because everybody wants to be a Ferrari fan. One, the Ferrari name, Ferrari prestige. Going back to my first point, he would want to drive for Ferrari at one point, and two, to get that title. I firmly believe that third reason, that Mercedes is not going to be competitive anymore. And Lewis Hamilton believes that Mercedes won't be competitive, won't be going for titles, won't be going for wins anymore, because that he only told Toto yesterday, the day before it was announced that he was signing for Ferrari. So like, and he told the CEO yesterday he did not like even give them the chance. He did not give them the chance to like counteroffer, or like give them the chance to convince him to stay with Mercedes. He was like, I signed, you can't do anything about it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. You know? If he had all thought Mercedes was going to be competitive, even if he had that urge to drive for Ferrari so much, he would still wait to see, like, surely, like, Mercedes offering him a bunch more money and them having a chance to win a title would convince him to stay and complete his journey as Mercedes, because Mercedes is Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton is Mercedes. He could have been the driver. He could have ended with Mercedes as his team. Ended off his legacy as Mercedes driver, and being like and then becoming like an advisor to that team, and like having Mercedes as his legacy. But no, he will go to Ferrari. But Ferrari is not Mercedes, where basically all Mercedes fans are Lewis Hamilton fans. Regardless if Lewis Hamilton comes to Ferrari or not, Ferrari will always still have a huge following. Like all of Italy is still their fans, and it will still always be the biggest brand. Even when Lewis Hamilton leaves, Ferrari will still be a huge base. So he's going to a team that he knows that they aren't just cheering for Lewis Hamilton like Mercedes. He knew that everyone was basically cheering for him. And also, he knows that even though he's a Ferrari fan, I mean, he's a Ferrari driver, he's not going to convince all the all Ferrari fans to start cheering for him. They will, in fact, some may even like boo him, because I've already seen on like social media and stuff like that this guy Lewis Hamilton was our worst enemy. Why, Fred Vasseur, would you bring this guy, the guy who stopped Sebastian Vettel from winning for a longest time with Ferrari? Why would you bring him in? He was the number one enemy. Why, Fred Vasseur? Why? This is generally the reaction that a lot of Ferrari people have, which are kind of valid. Like, this guy was stopped Ferrari from winning from 2014 to 2020. That this was the guy that stopped Ferrari from having a world championship. But unlike those people, I think this should be taken as we'd rather have him work for us than work in another team and get them collect points like off of us. Like, if it wasn't for Lewis Hamilton and his driving, we would have gotten second place in the championship last year in 2023. Like if it was like Lewis Hamilton outdrove that Mercedes at some points in 2023, put it to places that it should not have been. Granted, sometimes he had an absolute honker, which in qualifying. So then he may have just gotten the car to where it was supposed to be. But that regardless, there was at least a few races where he outdrove that Mercedes. So you would definitely want him to be in your team than another team. And people forget Sebastian Vettel also denied Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel also denied Ferrari many times with Alonso. Like in 2012, 4 championship years, he denied Ferrari their championships. So, and now Sebastian Vettel is the is one of the most loved Ferrari drivers. Like, granted, Lewis Hamilton's not going to have a contract as long as that Sebastian Vettel had, so we shall see if they will change their minds. And and also Lewis Hamilton. And I've seen, as much as there's been people saying that they dislike that Lewis Hamilton has come, it's like only like I think like a tiny majority. Most of Charles Leclerc fans, me, and like Ferrari fans are overjoyed that he's coming to Ferrari. Now, the fourth reason, and the one reason that I'm really excited and extremely happy that this could be the reason. I mean, and this could be the reason out of my depression also, is that Ferrari might have shown data to Lewis Hamilton that it could very well be a championship winning car from 2025 onwards or 2026 when the new regulations come. They are confident in having a car that can beat Red Bull and that could win the championship. That is a really exciting thing to happen. Now, some people are saying that that could be. Fred was like, I will give you another championship. I got you one in Formula 3, Formula 2. Also, just give me another chance. I'll give you your 8th championship like I've done in the past, giving you championships. You know? And so that's probably might have happened in return. And we know also who's coming from Mercedes also. Loic Sierra. I'm sorry if I said that name wrong or not. Let me know if I did not say that right. But Loic Sierra, top chief engineer in Mercedes, who worked on Mercedes tire management, and that is something that we need. That is something that Ferrari needs desperately. Like, they may have fast cars, but they always end up having terrible tire degradation every single year. It's gotten better, but we need that guy who will start working in 2025 on the 2025 car, Lewis's car. So it is believed that his signing, Loic Sierra is coming with a team of engineers, most likely from Mercedes, to Ferrari. So it is believed that Loic Sierra was a big reason of why Lewis Hamilton signed, because Loic Sierra also was the only other person who agreed with Lewis that Mercedes was going a wrong direction. Lewis Hamilton would trust that Loic Sierra is a good engineer, and he's going to Ferrari, and so I want to go with him because I know that he would help give me a car that would be able to win another championship. And so with his trust in Loic Sierra, and with showing him the game plan, showing him how it's possible, how Ferrari has a game plan to get back to the top, that is the reason why I think number 4, why he could have chosen to be with Ferrari. He was shown that Ferrari can come back on top. And I'm super excited for that to happen. But that doesn't mean that Lewis Hamilton will be the one to get the championship, which is why I'm getting to my second topic of this podcast, is that you all have been underestimating Charles Leclerc, and this is desperately need to be said, because a lot of people are now forgetting that Charles Leclerc is a great driver, and it's just immediately like, once there's a championship car, it's going to Lewis. Lewis is the only one that can win. People, put some respect on Charles Leclerc's name. Now let's get into this. Charles Leclerc would not have signed his new extension if he didn't have faith in his own ability that he would be able to take the fight to Hamilton and beat him. It is being said by Sky Sports, but it is pretty obvious that Charles, as team leader, would have known. Fred Visser has made sure that Charles knew that the team was created around Charles, that he would have known that Lewis Hamilton would be coming before he signed his new extension. And so he would not have signed the new extension if he did not believe in himself that he could beat Lewis Hamilton. And people are forgetting how good he actually was. 3 DNFs, 1 DNS, and 1 disqualification. People are forgetting how insane, how good he was. Like if you just take away his Bahrain DNF because of engine problems, because mechanics screwed up his engine, and if you just take away that Bahrain DNF that was a P3, he would be ahead of Lewis Hamilton in the in the rankings in 2023, and in a car that was generally more or less as good as the Mercedes. Mercedes had was just an average car, but Ferrari had high highs and then very low lows. In Spain, they were nowhere. Netherlands, they were nowhere. Even if Charles didn't do a mistake in Netherlands, they still were nowhere. In Miami, they were nowhere. In Spain, they were nowhere. You know, in British GP, they were nowhere. Where even Mercedes were generally either high or average car. You know, and Lewis Hamilton didn't have as many DNFs. So just put some respect on his name, and also him being the having the most poles of a non-championship, which I know people like to freaking harp on, but I'll do a video showcasing why only his Monaco and France poles were really his fault. That's 2 out of his 23 poles was his fault for not converting. But that's another story. He's got the most poles of a non-championship champion. The race pace difference between Sainz and him is actually higher than his quality difference to Sainz. Just because he's very good at poles makes him get underestimated in the race, where he actually is better in race days than on quali, but he's not able to show it because of Ferrari strategy and many people just being so amazed that he puts cars that are not meant to be on pole, that it just distracts them from how actually good he is in race day. Like we all saw Las Vegas, which in my opinion was the best performance by anyone except for Max in 2023. Like he was facing a faster Red Bull, he managed to save his tires so that when Max's tires were going, he still had the juice in his tires to last 5 more laps, and so that he had fresher tires when he did pit. And then if the safety car had not happened, still I'm being serious that he would have won that race. And maybe if you guys want, I'll do like a quick video on why it will, like, and be like, and show the stats and show everything. He would definitely have won Las Vegas if not for that safety car. But anyway, aside from that, he is a great he I'm not just being biased. He is a great generational talent, and he already in his second year of Formula 1 beat Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world championship, who in 2017 and 2018 was considered on par of Lewis Hamilton, and 1 year in 2019 would not have made that much difference. The difference was Charles Leclerc. So, like, yes, Lewis Hamilton might have been a bit better at that time, but in 2019, and he couldn't have been that much worse. 2019 Seb could not have been that much worse than 2018 Seb. So he already beat a 4-time world championship who was just barely past their prime, not even past their prime. Some would say in 2017 that Seb was better than Lewis Hamilton in 2017, and if not for Ferrari being Ferrari, Seb would have won the world championship. I can go into detail on that also. Charles already burst a 4 times world championship in his second year. This is his, and it was his 8th season in Formula 1. He would be experienced enough to be good enough to at least burst. I mean, at least be as good as Hamilton or be better than Hamilton. And it's also Charles's team. his Fred Vasseur has been very clear. The rumors out of Ferrari has been very clear. The team is building around Charles, so that by the time Lewis gets there, Lewis will not be a second driver. He'll be given equal treatment, but the car in 2025 will be built around Charles's feedback that has been given in 2024 and in 2025 also. And if Lewis is better, then it might go. Then it would go develop towards Lewis's direction. But that's an if. But the 2025 car will be made in his preferences. So and he will have his support. He will know the people there for a long time. The only question is, I hope that the, you know the only question is, where is Shabby gonna go? Because that's a question that everyone would like to know. Because Charles has been in the team for a long time. He should be getting the senior person, he should be getting a better the better radio officer. And I can't imagine Lewis beating anyone with Shabby in Ferrari. So maybe people's wondering who's gonna win between Charles versus Hamilton is whoever gets Shabby. Whoever gets Shabby wins between Lewis and and Charles. That's how it's gonna be decided. The team geared towards you is also, in terms of perception, is gonna be terrible for Leclerc because the pressure is on Leclerc because it's not on Hamilton. The pressure to beat Hamilton is on Leclerc. But when Lewis Hamilton comes to Ferrari, if Leclerc beats Lewis, then they'll just say, "Oh, Lewis joining a new team. He doesn't know Italian. He doesn't have the support like he did in Mercedes. The car wasn't geared towards him, etc., etc., etc." But if Charles loses against Lewis, then it will be known that, oh, got beaten by a guy who just came to his team. He doesn't know Italian. He doesn't know much people in Ferrari. He doesn't have a whole team geared towards him. So then, how did you lose, Charles? That will be all the headlines, and the British. Lewis has the British media, so it will be exponentially bad for Charles. So he had all the pressure on him. So it's only a crazy person who would want Lewis Hamilton to be his teammate. And a crazy person is Charles because he definitely agreed. He welcomed the challenge for Lewis Hamilton. But I don't think it's a stupid decision. Even though it's a lose-lose situation for Charles, I think this is his chance because if Ferrari for the remainder of Charles's time would time in F1, if Ferrari never produces a championship winning car, which please, Ferrari, please give him a championship winning car. If Ferrari never gives him a championship winning car and not even a race winning car, or a championship winning car, at least if this is his chance to beat Lewis Hamilton, and then at least he could say that he beat Sebastian Vettel, a four-time world championship and a four-time world champion, and he beat Lewis Hamilton, and who's a seven-time world champion. So this is his chance to show that he's actually a great talent. So if he beats Lewis Hamilton, I think he would be considered already as good as a world champion. Or at least he will stop being compared to the likes of Lando and George. Lando, who's not even won a race, even though he had a race-winning car in Qatar. Lando, who's had many race-winning chances, but has never won a. He will definitely showcase that he's better than George by beating Lewis Hamilton because George did not beat Lewis Hamilton in 2022 and 2023. If you watched the season, you know that he did not win 2023 2 in 2023. Lewis's quality and race pace was greater than George, and definitely beat him. Incredible in 2023, except quality. George Russell tied Lewis Hamilton, but like people say, you don't give points in quality. With the way Lewis dominated in race and got the points on Sunday, I don't think anyone can say that Lewis did not dominate George in 2023. Lando has had many race winning chances. Now win a race. Maybe if he wins a race, maybe we can consider him as good as George. I don't get why Lando would be considered the next Lewis Hamilton when he hasn't even showcased being better than George. When he hasn't showcased has the ability and the mental strength to get a win. He's even admitted he's thrown a bunch of opportunities away that he could have got to get a win. And I'll go into detail on that in another video. If he wins, he won't get much credit, but if he loses, he will lose so much credibility as a great overly underestimated more than he already is. But he's a crazy person, and he wants to showcase that he can be a 7-time world champion. Where is Carlos going? That is the question, and that's one we'll end off with. Good riddance. Now, just this week, it was reported that Carlos said to Ferrari, "If you don't sign, I'll look elsewhere." So he's looking elsewhere right now. To me, I think he will get a drive. Will it be in 2025? What is his options for 2025? 2026, it's looking good that because of his father's connections, his father has a lot of connections, but his father's connections in Audi, he's a top candidate for the Audi seat right now. So in 2026, it's a good chance he'll be in Audi with their car. It won't be a top car because, again, as with the rumor mill in F1, you don't even know if Audi is even that much interested in F1. It feels like they even tried to get out of the deal like at one point in time in 2023, and like they haven't really invested. They haven't started investing in their Formula One team. They just have a prototype, but they haven't really done much after this. So I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to be a top level team for a very very long time, if ever. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But that's where most likely Carlos is going to go. But they aren't going to come till 2026, so that leaves 2025. Where is Carlos going to go 2025? Will he have a gap year like Albon? The 4 teams that are rumored that he either the team's interested in him or Carlos is interested in going is Red Bull, Aston Martin, Williams, and Mercedes. Red Bull, I very highly doubt. Red Bull, I think is Red Bull is on like the bottom of the list of where I think he's gonna end up. I know a lot of Sainz fans are really excited that that's gonna happen, and I know some other fans that like I think even like Sky Sports said he could go there, but Red Bull is very low on the list of that's happening. One, when Sainz and Verstappen were teammates back in 2015, it was probably just as toxic as the Leclerc Sainz partnership, where, but probably even more so because Verstappen has a dad who's very involved with his son's driving, and Sainz has a dad who's very involved in his son's driving. But Sainz dad wanted his son to go to Red Bull and created a very toxic atmosphere. Helmut Marko even admitted that Sainz's dad caused the Sainz and Verstappen partnership to be very toxic and and it was very hard to manage them both, and so much so that like Christian Horner and Helmut Marko disliked Carlos's dad because he was meddling too much, just as he was in Ferrari, but he was meddling in Toro Rosso. There's most likely, like, even if they thought that Carlos Sainz was a great driver, Max, Christian Horner, and Helmut Marko all would prefer not to have that because that would just be inviting stress onto themselves, like where they would have to manage Carlos's dad and manage Carlos's dad as well as Carlos when they could have Daniel Ricciardo. That brings me on to my second point. They have Daniel Ricciardo, which is pretty much guaranteed now that Lando has signed to McLaren. That Daniel Ricciardo, they have him in AlphaTauri, and Daniel Ricciardo seems that he's back in shape. He's not the McLaren Daniel Ricciardo, and he might, like, his Mexico Grand Prix was insane. Qualified P4 and uh, and finished P7, the highest. The highest ranking that AlphaTauri went all year. Oh yeah, but then of course he's had a few couple bad races in AlphaTauri. He didn't have much of races to prove that he was good, but and 2024 will showcase whether he's truly back in form or not. They want someone who's faster than Perez, which I have no doubt Daniel Ricciardo is, and they want someone who will listen to team orders, which Daniel Ricciardo most likely will because of his great partnership with Christian and stuff, and so he just works, and he's also one of the biggest PR, like like if Lewis Hamilton is like number one, Daniel Ricciardo will either be two or third. He has like a big name in America. He's known. He has a huge following. So there's no, and so he's the next big target. But there's also, like, this week there was rumors that they would want to keep him in AlphaTauri, like make AlphaTauri a race fighting team, and keep him in AlphaTauri to give more PR to that brand, and instead go for Alex Albon and bring back Alex Albon, which is it's a good option now that Ferrari is not gone for Alex Albon. Yet Yuki, and they do not think Yuki's a choice. They'll never think Yuki's a choice. I still don't know why Yuki's still in the team. Like, no matter how good or bad he is, we all know that Red Bull doesn't want to to upgrade him to that top seat, and AlphaTauri for them is like a training ground. And like now that Honda's gone, I don't get why they keep Yuki if they're not even thinking that he will ever be part of Red Bull. So why don't they just get Liam Lawson? Like, Liam Lawson has proved that he was, like, for the few races he was beating Yuki, and had like some raw talent. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a Kiwi. I do have a little bias. I'm from New Zealand, so I do have a little bias. But come on, Liam Lawson, come on, come on, come on, come on. At least I admit my biases. So Red Bull is out. Then we go to Aston Martin. Aston Martin has given Alonso a 3-year contract, I'm pretty sure. So I don't think Alonso's pretty much driving for 2025, at least in Aston Martin, unless, of course, Alonso goes to Mercedes, there's a rumor that Alonso might go to Mercedes to fill Lewis Hamilton's spot. But unless that happens, I don't see Aston Martin going for Carlos, because Lance Stroll is not going anywhere unless Lance decides to hang it up, hang it up. The only two options, the only two reasons that Aston Martin might go for Carlos Sainz is if Lance Stroll decides he doesn't want to drive anymore because he can't stand that he keeps on losing to a teammate, but or Alonso goes to Mercedes because Toto's like, hey, I need a world champion. I know we've had problems before. I know we burned bridges before, but please, I need your help. I need another person now that Lewis, my buddy bud, is gone. That then Carlos has a chance. But until that happens, I do not see that happening. Now, the So we got Red Bull, Aston Martin, and let's see, Mercedes. Mercedes, I also do not see happening because with Mercedes, with Lewis going, they would need a big name signing to replace him. And Alonso could be a big name signing. That's probably why they would want to go for him first. But Carlos Sainz does not have that big of a name. Like, I'm pretty sure there was a report that like 90% of Ferrari, like I think like 80% of Ferrari apparel that got sold was like Charles's, and then like 20% was like Carlos. Like even when it was like the Spanish Grand Prix in the Carlos Sainz stand, it was mainly green. A lot of them were green people in the not Ferrari. So Carlos doesn't really have that big of a name. Like Mercedes wants talent, but also a big name to replace the Lewis Hamilton because right now they have lost a lot of fans. Incredibly probably like 75% of the fan base is gone with Lewis Hamilton. So unless they could find a big name, they won't have enough people to sell their their brand, their merchandise. So and that does mean a lot to most. And sponsors are also a lot of sponsors are going with Lewis because they're connected with him. And so Formula One is a money sport. They need money, no matter what they say. And so if they would much rather go for a person who has a big name, or they would go for someone, or they would go for some exciting new talent. Like it's either a past multiple world champion or a new future talent that could bring eyeballs to them. Like some people, I don't know if I would believe it because that's too early. But some people are throwing the name Kimi Antonelli. Now that guy's a beast, and he looks to have a big future. He was winning everything. He skipped F3 because of how good he was, and is going to F2 this year, and we shall see how that goes. But maybe they were gonna wait to announce for Mercedes until the end of 2024, and then see how well Kimi Antonelli does in F2 and just promotes him to Mercedes instantly because Mercedes already has George Russell as the number one. Even when Lewis was there, they were trying to promote George to number one. So they have right. Lewis has given them the easy choice. George will be the number one, and so in 2025 he'll be a little bit experienced. He will be their number one. Kimi Antonelli, they're learning his way Formula One and have George as their number one and like so that like develop Kimi's skill and goes straight to 2026 and 27 because we've seen, albeit Lando did have a little bit more experience than Kimi Antonelli, like some years more, but Lando went from F2 straight into McLaren. The Kimi could go straight into Mercedes. I do see it, and a future new star coming into a Mercedes that could bring some eyes onto Mercedes. If Alonso doesn't come to Mercedes, I think Kimi's the next logical choice for Mercedes. And I don't see Carlos unless they really do not want to do that to Kimi. And also, Bottas was in Brackley just yet today. Brackley on the day of Lewis's signing, so it could bring back Bottas. Just as like a placeholder. Now that they're Audi's for sure not going with Bottas and Joe going forward in 2026. Mercedes could just be like, we need a placeholder person, and Bottas could be Toto and Bottas have a good relationship, so they could put Bottas in until Kimi's ready, and then Kimi will be in Mercedes. Bottas will just be like placeholder until then. So, but they have like multiple options. Mercedes they could go to, and Bottas also has a little bit of a big name also because of his his antics outside. A little bit of a name with Valtteri. with Kimi, with Alonso, with Bottas, I do not see. It's very unlikely that Carlos has a chance. The only other team that I think he has the best chance in is Williams, and how far the downgrade will go in 2025. I mean, Logan's future is uncertain after 2024. 2024, he's only signed a 1 year contract in 2025, and also Red Bull might take Albon, so there's 2 seats available. So chances are Williams will take it, and there's also been rumors that they're interested in Carlos. So there's rumors that he will be in 2025. But I see there's no problem with him being Williams. But is that would Carlos want that? He'll be driving in the back most of the time, and with Albon there, I'm convinced that Albon is better than Sainz. I can do a video on that again because I don't want to. I've already talked so long in this podcast, but Albon is better than Sainz. If he goes to Williams, I can only guess that that's gonna be a very bad year for him, and he'll be wondering where did it go wrong. Maybe he should have signed the contract that Ferrari gave him before Lewis Hamilton became available. He probably should have just listened to Ferrari and probably should have not tried to threaten Ferrari because Ferrari is bigger than any driver, even Lewis Hamilton, and they'll do what they do to if they think that it's the right option. And so it's kind of his own fault. I feel no sympathy for him because as I said, I'll be making a video on this, but of all the politics he's pulled to waste a whole year of Ferrari's time to make the car, Binotto made that car for him. No matter what anyone else would say, I pull the receipts that Lauren Mekies, Binotto has said that they've developed the car into towards Sainz's direction, which is the complete opposite of Charles's direction, and Charles's direction is like Max will agree. Engineer Adrian Newey agrees that Charles's oversteer and with this regulation of cars is way faster than understeer. But the fact is, they wanted because of politics that Sainz's father has done and Binotto, his very first hire, Sainz was Binotto's choice. Because of that, they developed into Carlos's direction, and 2023 car was made. The base car was made to fit Carlos, and till Japan, it was suiting Carlos more than it was Charles. So for that, and then also him screwing up Charles's race so much and so many times, and his qualifying so many times, and not being a team player. And I don't expect Lewis Hamilton to be a team player, but at least he won't try and sabotage his race in order to win. You know, that's how bad Carlos wanted to win because he knew that Charles was faster than him, but if he could just sabotage his race, he could win. Like in Australia 2023 qualifying, he screwed up his qualifying, which I'll make a video on all the things that Carlos did to try and get ahead of Charles, but in the end it didn't work. But anyway, all those things and makes me feel no sympathy for what has happened, especially since we know that he could have signed for Ferrari if he just accepted the deal that was on the table. And but he tried to get Charles's deal, but Ferrari masterfully did not agree, and we got the greatest pairing of this century. That's what's happened. Thank you guys for listening to my podcast. Let me know if you enjoyed this podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe, share. Lewis Hamilton is in Ferrari. I promise. Let me know if you have any problems with this podcast. And yeah, I'll be doing this a lot more. I enjoy talking about Formula One. And I hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button, subscribe, share. Lewis Hamilton is in Ferrari. It's gonna be interesting in 2025. I'm excited. And I'll see you in the next video.